Howdy ho, y'all. 57 here, bringing you something a little new. Today I'm going to be analyzing the NDLS draft as a whole, giving some, I guess, power rankings and draft ratings, and analyzing the contracts that have been declared thus far. As you guys know, the NDLS is the new league that I have started. I wanted to give analyses before we got too far into the season, and to kind of assess like a early season and then a late season one, like maybe a postseason rankings to like kind of give like a general recap, so that like I could give fill in the gaps for the matches that aren't me. So we are a brand new league with 12 coaches. There are no divisions, so there won't be any sort of breakdown on that level. But I'll be looking at the draft as a whole, things I like, don't like, the quality of Z-Mons, and I have the contracts here for 8 coaches that have declared contracts. There are 4 that have not yet. I won't assess the viability or the quality of those extended contracts that they've declared. If you guys are confused about what I mean by contracts, it means that they will have a certain number of Mons for going into next season. So a couple things they've drafted this draft they're going to have for next draft. All coaches are going to have to. The 4 coaches that haven't done this are going to have to declare theirs. They just haven't yet. It's not an urgent deal. No one's really done too many free agent moves yet. And that's one of the big things it'll affect. Like, you can't just free agent Mons with a couple seasons on their contract or whatever. You can trade though. Like, trades are more or less like unrestricted. No one's really bit for it, but no one seems really uncomfortable with their team at this point. I'll spoil it for like the time frame of this. Week 2, we are in the midst of week 2 happening. I don't think anybody's too burnt on their team yet at the moment, and those that are like being pretty tentative about it. Not gonna give any spoilers, but without further ado, I'll start with a general recap of how the draft went. What you see here is the spreadsheet with the draft order on it. I was the second round, or not the second round, the second overall pick. So I had a pretty good standing. No, it was not rigged, even though I'm the commissioner. But this is all a randomized draft. Next season we'll probably just do it by standings. So yeah, with the first overall pick, we had Gliscor, and he drafted Kyurem B. I am not personally a fan of Kyurem B. I think it is a sink on synergy. I don't like its speed tier. I don't like its typing. But I think the effectiveness of Kyurem B depends on what you put around it. So I'll be evaluating the pick later, and I think it actually is really good as a Z-Mon. So I can't fault that. It'll be a while if I go through everything pick by pick. So I'll go through, anyway, I'll just break down Gliscor's draft. What he put around it is Doug Trio, obviously great trapper. I believe his picks in order were Mega Scizor and Clefable before. He drafted tier 1s first. And I also don't agree with grabbing, jumping for a higher tier fairy. And I don't think Clefable is all that amazing this generation, but I mean, it definitely works as part of his core. I do agree with drafting Kyurem B and probably one of the best Kyurem B counters in Mega Scizor, and then on top of that, drafting one of the best Scizor counters in Zapdos later on. It's very good, counter team type of move there. A big obvious point that he got is Amungus Alamola. He's one of the coaches that has not declared his contracts. I would say like if he finds himself comfortable with it, like getting franchised in that regenerator core is a very appealing option. And something you could build like just about anything around. Obviously, he has a sort of bulky offense with trapping. I think normally like Z Kyrie B should be kind of more of a wall breaker. It can be a sweeper with like stuff like Z Hail. Um, he does have sub sweepers. He has Scolipede. He has Mega Scizor. And he has Fastmon and Doug Trio, but that's not a sweeper. That's gonna be like his revenge killer. So Kyrie is able to wall break a bit more, and yeah, I think there are gonna be some things he struggles with. Steel types a little bit. Gonna be. I'm not keen on some of his picks. Like I think Venomoth is a good value pick, and it's a kind of a combination. Poor man's Volcarona plus like Z status user. So there's some interesting potential there. I've never seen it drafted as a Zmon. I actually hardly ever see it drafted really. He doubled on bug poison types, which is a interesting move. And his only Edgequake resist is Keldeo. I looked at his team. I thought he was like maybe a little flying weak early on, but he's not. He's not really. He's got Zapdos, which is like a pretty good answer to that. And he has offensive and defensive answers to it. I think if he relies on Lycanroc Day, he's not going to be in a good position. But I think overall he has a solid. I think he overall has a solid draft. It has, it's more of a. To me, it doesn't. The only like astounding threat is Kyurem Black. So I guess like this would probably be like a, probably solid. Man, giving out the first grade is tough. I'll say like a B plus draft for Kyurem B. I've assessed my draft before. I will assess it just really briefly on things I've gotten criticism on, namely having the multiple water types. I don't think that's as much of an issue, but people have said Greninja and Starmie are redundant, but I think they get different enough coverage that I'm fine having both of them. I am finding that Miltank and Swampert do overlap and roll a lot of the time, as far as rockers, fire resists, physically defensive checks to a lot of mons. So I'm not as keen on that, but I'm overall happy with my draft. I'm glad I got good Z-mons. I think I'm very comfortable with my draft. That's another thing I can only address for a few coaches because I only know a few coaches from before. But I think I could definitely do well with this draft, and I think I'll give myself just above Gliscor, an A minus, because because I'm biased. Not gonna lie. All right. So now we have Jolteon. He has Weavile, one of my favorite mons in the format, right out the gate. Is Tapu Koko. A mon a lot of people like to dump on, but is really quality and a really, really good Z user. Like for a lot of deep cuts, and I hope I get to see him use a good number of those. I will. I did not analyze. I didn't analyze my contracts, but I think I went over this in my draft analysis video. I will analyze Jolteon's though. He also drafted Cresselia, which I think is all around great mon, but it's interesting with Sigilyph. And Slowbro, who's got a lot of psychic. I wouldn't say he's dark weak because Cobalion kind of answers that. Venusaur doesn't mind any knockoffs. And Coco and Weavile are very soft dark checks. So he's in a kind of interesting spot. Slurpuff is obviously like very able to take a knockoff. both because of its typing and ability. But yeah, I'm interested to see if he makes. His team isn't bad. Not by any means. Getting Venusaur and Slowbro like paired with like Cresselia and Rhydon is like a fantastic bulky core. But there's like a lot of like overlapping roles that he has. So I'm interested to see what he jumps for as far as trades and free agency. His contracts are two seasons and a 3-season. Locking in on Venusaur, Staraptor, Cobalion, and Sigilyph. And I think those are very interesting. I think those are good things to build around for the future. Cobalion definitely a high value tier 3 mon. Staraptor is something I haven't used, but it's something that is like a very devastating, very immediate team threat. And that pretty much ensures that you don't have to like ever worry about like not having a good wall breaker. And Venusaur, obviously, if you pair it with like a lot of things, like just look at his draft. You know, he has multiple different options of mons he could pair it with defensively. And you know, going on, he could draft different things around it. Like if I remember if Heatran got contracted, but if that falls out of falls him in a draft, no, it did get contracted by Derp. So I'll say on the actual draft, I don't like the overlapping typings as that much, and I don't. There aren't too many like immediate weaknesses jumping out at me. Like I guess he doesn't really have too much of a poison resist, Cobalion maybe, but like there's a lot of poison types with like coverage for that, like ground or fire or fighting or what have you. So I'll say this is like a B- draft, but I think the quality of the contracts elevates it to probably he got good pieces to build around. So it's probably like a B+ factoring in contracts, B- just the draft itself. Tapu Koko is a quality Zmon. Weavile has like really only just like maybe like a handful of moves that he wants to use as Z moves. It obviously lets it break through like a good number of things. It's a devastating wall breaker on its own, but I can't see myself, not running Life Orb Weavile like just so much. So moving on, we have Carboni and the Colorado Bulldoors. His early picks are just fantastic. Infinite, Tangrowth, Crobat, Vaporeon. Like there's just a lot of synergy there. Lot of synergy. Good speed tiers, good bulk. I would say his speed tiers fall off really quickly. Like once you get past, like there's a jump from Zoroark to Tapu Lele, and then a jump all the way down to Seismitoad, I think, and that's like base 60. So that's gonna be an interesting position. A lot of teams that will be heavy on. Granted, his upper speed tier with Crobat is pretty good, and I'm not a huge fan of. I'm not huge on traditional bulky waters, but getting Vaporeon and Tangrowth is great. Or maybe a pair of Seismitoad and Tangrowth with Doublade, able to pair with those, and Dredagon is very, very good. Very few common weaknesses between them. A lot of overall bulk, and opponents are going to have a very hard time scoring 2-hit KOs on that core. Offensively, he has a lot of good things. He has good priority. He has good speed. With Tapu Lele, he has Tapu Lele gives him much needed wall breaking. I don't think if he didn't have Tapu Lele, he'd be like maybe a little less able to wall break, but he does. He has the makings for a good rain team. If he wants to run that like every now and then, like with Swiftswim, Seismitoad, and Dryskin Helio. And I think Vaporeon gets hydration, but I don't know if I'd run that too often. Has he declared? Yes, he's declared contracts. He's locked into Infernape for 3 seasons, so he burned a lot of cap room on that, leaving him just to get Tangrowth and Heliolisk after that. Infernape is obviously a great mon in format. It's something that like you either like or you either love. I feel, and I feel that's a good contract move. Tangrowth is a good contract move in my opinion. Being able to get a good grass is very valuable, and being able to have a regenerator mon, very 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 valuable. Heliolisk is something I love a lot. I don't know if I would jump on. Me personally, I don't know if I would jump on franchising it, contracting it, because you know that pretty much locks you in as the electric type you're going to use for the rest of your time. It's great. I think it's one of the better electrics in the format, but I think like every now and then you might want to draft like a Magneton or a Raikou. Maybe that's just me. Maybe he likes Heliolisk like just a lot, having a secondary stab, good speed tier, all that. It's by no means a bad pick. There's a decent bit of synergy between them, but Infernape and Heliolisk cover the same speed tier, so I don't know if like the building blocks are inherently synergistic on his end, but they are quality in their own right. I think his draft is great. Tapu Lele at round 4 is, I would say, honestly, is a steal. Not a deep steal, but a bit of a steal. Yeah, I like his draft. I think it's something that a lot of people could easily use well. Having Pokemons with Wish support and Regenerator, having good Volt Turn, and a great Wall Breaker. I'm not super keen on. I think he picked his 2 best available mons as Z-mons. Infernape is obviously a great Z-mon. Tapu Lele is a good Z-mon. I'd rather run a choice item most times, but like having the option, I guess, is nice. I'd give his draft just a outright. It's not perfect, but like there are very few flaws in it from what I can see. Next, we have Rish, early joiner, current mod, been a very good member so far. We had the option to draft Mew with Unium Z as a S ranked, but he chose as a tier 1, which means that he cannot use Unium Z, which I have come to like in standard a whole lot. I think it's very good. I think it makes Mew a very potent sweeper. But he's not going to be able to use that. But he could use Psyche MZ and stuff, so he could definitely get a good wall breaking, a good wall break every here and there. What he built around it is obviously he has a Florges Mega Aggron, like Fairy Steel core going on there with Garchomp, Fairy Dragon Steel. Very deliberate, very good core on that end. Z Thunder SI, I think it's pretty quality. It gets good coverage. And there's some interesting things you could do with it. Z Mew is obviously gonna be maybe the best, if not one of the best Z moves Z used in the game. I'm a little perplexed that I got Mew and Celebi, and I'll let you know, guys, that in a match he's already brought both Mew and Celebi, which is just actually kind of mind-boggling to me, because they generally do a lot of very similar things. You can run them a lot. You can run them both a lot of different ways, but like stacking that weakness there and using like that, working off that same base stat total is just like, it's just kind of weird. But do what you do, man. I'm a little surprised he didn't go with Garchomp as a Z user. I think that would be I'm not a fan of Garchomp personally, but that's just a personal thing. I think it's still a very good mon, and it's one of the best Z users in the meta. Tentacruel, I will never fault that. It is easily top 5. It's easily like the 3rd or 4th best spinner in the game. Even still, even in Gen 7. So yeah, Embor can never fault that. He's gone for a lot of things that I like, with a few things I don't, but that's just pretty much personal preference, like Garchomp or Mega Aggron, because Mega Steelix is better, guys. I don't know if I like the Alolan Ninetales pick. He already had a fairy, and he's he doesn't have like an ice friendly team. Like, you can't really draft a hail team, but like you can at least draft a little hail friendly, I guess. And no, wait, he has Sand Slash. He has Alolan Sand Slash. What am I talking about? He's got the core. Did he contract that? Rish. He got Mew, Florida's Aggron, and Thundurus, each for 2 seasons apiece. So he's not going deep on his team, but he definitely drafted his best mons for the long haul. I think those are pretty much the best mons he has to contract around. I kind of think he could have done. There's some interesting things he could have done. With maybe using the Hail Core, or maybe trying to get a lower tier pick, like grabbing Embor for multiple seasons, because I think that's a very good building block in my opinion. So yeah, Rish. The Mew Selby thing is maybe like the only flaw in the draft. He has Hail, but he's not reliant on it. He has a lot of options, a lot of versatility in his team, a lot of good bulk. So this is what I'll say is another A draft. Even with the Mew Selby thing, maybe it may even be an A+ draft because he has good quality contracts. So I could give that like a Rish a tentative A+ on his draft. Good job there. Next we have Tank and the Minnesota Mighty Here, right at the gate, he's got a nice Bennett type core. In reference to friend in other leagues, Bennett, aka Kaiser the Amazing. He's got a Skarmory, Crocodile, Arcanine core, which and a Alolan Persian. I could feel my man just like looking at that and just being like, oh man, he could use this team all day. He even had Mega Lopunny, which he had for his season. So the short of it is, I've seen this kind of team do well, make playoffs, and yeah, it's a good bulky core. I think for Bennett's, if he really manages to pivot well around Electros and Alolan Persian, then he could kind of turn it into a good kind of volt turning team. But at a glance, it's not a good volt turning team. It's a little more. I'd probably dare say a little stallier, or a little more reliant on wall breaking. He has thus far the most questionable Z-Mons of all the teams we've looked at. Gardevoir is definitely interesting because it has some good status moves, like Z-Trick gets you +2 speed, and some good offensive Z moves. And then you have Z-Gator. I wouldn't run that, just because Sheer Force Life Orb is. Why would you pass up on that? Just why? I'd probably go I don't know why he wouldn't go with Z Parting Shot on Alolan Persian, or Z Arcanine, who has a lot of options. So I don't think he picked the most optimal Z-Mons, but he may have used these before. He may like them a lot. I really don't know the potential of Z Gardevoir, so I'm interested to see if he could what he could do with it. He has not declared his contracts yet. So I can't evaluate that as much. So the overall analysis of the team would be: he has a good bulky core, he has good speed tiers, well, he has a good upper end of speed tiers, I'll say. He has nothing like right around base 100. He doesn't have anything like, if he had something like 101 or 19, like the jump from uh, Alolan Persian to Crocodile and Zygarde is just a little bit too much for me. And he is reliant on a few Pokemon without recovery, like Blastoise and Electros. But he has a lot of things that can help that with Blissey, Passing Wishes, and such. So, definitely an interesting team. And I can't say a team with Mega Lopunny is going to be bad. Like, I've pretty much never seen that mon do, like, actually bad in the format. I've seen, like, this type of core succeed. So, a lot of things I'm not huge on, but a lot of things I have seen work. So, this is what I'll call, like, just a solid B draft. Next, we have Teddy Ursa and the Miami Heatrans. Right out of the gate, Z Jirachi. We do not have Z Happy Hour in this league. But Z Jirachi, I think, is still a very good Zmon. To pair with that, Togekiss, Megazord X, Quagsire, very good stuff. He doesn't have too deep a need of hazard removal, so Gligar should never need to run Defog, and he has Serena for spin. And you say, whoa, he's got Megazord X. He does need hazard removal. Yeah, but I think he's drafted enough like resistances, Quagsire and Jirachi, and he's drafted like, I don't know. He has hazard control a little bit on his side. His speed tiers cap out too low. Like, me and Xiao being his fastest mon is definitely less than ideal. It pretty much forced him to be reliant on setup Zardex or Scarf Me and Xiao or Scarf Jirachi. And to me, that's just not really reliable. Z Thundurus T, pretty much the same boat as Z Thundurus I. Really great coverage. And Thunder T is a little bit more what people view as a little more potent to sweep with a double dance set with either agility or nasty plot. So I think Z moves make that a very, very dangerous mon if it ever gets a free turn. Jirachi, I said before, very versatile, very good coverage. It doesn't have like a lot of high base power coverage, would be my only qualm. Like, most of its coverage moves hit like base 70 or such, or 75. So it's not destroying the world, even with Z moves. But there's definitely a lot of interesting options it has. So overall, it's reliant on Scarfers. His dual ground types are little bit odd, and he has his disparity between Rock's weakness and not Rock's weakness is yeah, not fully sure what to make of it. Because I said it's not an issue, but I look at him, he has 3 flying types, and like, me and Xiao doesn't get shipped with Regenerator. Rachi barely gets shipped, but it's relying on Togekiss, Thundurus T, and Zardex, which you will a lot of times, could put you in a very dangerous path if you get hazard stacked. This is a tough draft to rate. This is really tough draft to rate. Middle ground pick as a Drapion is very good. Is good quality, good knockoff user. Toxic Spikes, Swords Dance. It gets a lot of utility. I'm not a fan of Dusclops. I think it's too passive. It does maybe like two or three. It has like 2 or 3 different sets of draft format. Like if you run like a Calm Mind set, or if you run a bulky utility set, and that's pretty much it. I don't like it as like a low tier pick. Some people like it as like a low tier value. He has not declared contracts either. I think that's going to be one of the last ones. No. Mr. Black will be the final one that hasn't declared contracts. So that doesn't give me anything other criteria to judge it on. He's kind of saved by his mega. I think this may be like the lowest rated draft I'm going to give so far. No, I don't think it really is. It may be like a B minus draft or a B draft. I can't decide. I'm going to move on to the Anaheim draft rigs. Here he has Z Manaphy, the threat. It's too real. He has Megalodios, which is my bait. He got Volcanion and Megalodios. He did the strategy of draft the bond, draft the counter. It works, guys. Man. He has a good stratification of speed here, so 100 to 110 to 115. That's a very nice set. Unfortunately, 115 is fine to max out on bulky teams, but I wouldn't describe this as a bulky team, as there's actually nothing with recovery outside of rest besides Chansey and like Toxicule Breloom. Oh, and Shaman. I forgot Shaman. I'm not a huge fan of Shaman and Breloom doubling on the grass type here. Especially when both provide a status immunity role, and it does give him the option to bring one or the other like every week, but I don't think it's huge. So Valia is a good like mod to patch any apparent weaknesses, any lackings he has. So the statement I give overall is he has a lot of great special attackers. And then Escavalier is a very threatening wall breaker, a very threatening mod, but it's hard to get in. And then Breloom is very threatening wall breaker as well. I think he's a little lacking on physical attack. His team is Megalodios and Chansey automatically makes a team bulky on their own. Outside of that, I don't know what his team's identity is. It's kind of balanced, kind of bulky offense, kind of a mix of things. He can't run hyper offense really, and he can't run like full stall. He doesn't have like the options on either end. He hasn't declared contracts yet. I mean, I think like Manaphy, Silvally, these are good options to look at if you need advice on that. Zmon choice is very good. I think Volcanion's probably more optimal than Raikou. So what are we looking at? Obvious cons, Claydol. That's your only spinner. I don't buy the hype on Alolan Muck that much, but I think it's a steal at tier 4, honestly. Then you have the Z Raikou not being optimal. Speed tiers, Claydol. Yeah, I don't like Chansey, but I love Megalodios. So I'm once again find myself pretty conflicted on this draft. It doesn't play into an overwhelming positive or negative feeling on me. I would say overall the draft is versatile based on the versatility of Megalodios, the versatility of Manaphy, the versatility of Savali. He's just liable to find himself on the wrong end of a good number of sweeps. So this, I hate to rate a Megalodios draft lowest draft, but I don't know. I'm gonna say Clayton's the only rapid spinner isn't a huge issue because he doesn't have a huge rock weakness. So I'm going to say that saves it from being a B- draft into being a B draft. So moving on, we have Baylor and the Baylor Beartics. This man, I really can't fault. I just about can't fault anything on this draft. Like looking at it, it's so threatening. He got Magiarna late, and as Zemon, and that's so good. He got Zeladios, which I think is the best available Zemon on his team, and really good Z user. He has Baylor obviously is a more of a bulky offense player, and I think he drafted very well to his strengths. He got Entei, which is a favorite of his. Joyous Therian is bulky offense, the Mon. Decidueye, obviously a lot of intriguing possibilities. There's a lot of good sets. I'm very much becoming a fan of Decidueye in Gen 7. There's I would say there's a bit of Edgequake weakness, but Buzzwole actually really counteracts that pretty well. Buzzwole is a very underrated mon for its defensive ability, and also, but it's obviously just very offensively threatening. Baylor has in fact declared contracts. He has Buzzwole for 2 seasons, Decidueye for 3, Umbreon for 2. So man knows what's up, and he got his contract points to work out perfectly. So he only has 3 mons for the long term, but it is 3 mons that actually do synergize with the fighting Dark Ghost kind of semi-core there. And they're all Umbreon's bulky, and the other 2 are bulky with the offensive presence. So it's not the most it's not like what you would immediately assume as oh, this is what he would build the franchise around based on this draft. But it's a very good. I think it's a very good building blocks. His he got a good 121 is a good speed cap. Then Sneasel, then goes down to Sneasel, then goes down to Latios. He has Entei, who isn't really a base 100 mon, but it can be. So I'm not gonna fault how he runs that. Magiarna can get +2 easily. Actually, Electrode, I forgot, is the cap of his speed tier. He has good speed. He has good bulk. He has really so much that a team needs. If there's anything, I guess I could fault him that Rhyperior is his only rocker. I wouldn't want to be forced into bringing that every week to have Stealth Rocks. But he has Toxic Spikes for Toxic Spikes, so I guess he's not without hazards that are reliable. This is this is an A draft. There's the Rocks thing is just that's the only point I could knock against this. I feel. Very great draft. Very good. Well done, Baylor. Next we have Derp, another repeat offender, and the Montreal Meloetas. He got a gross core. Got Megalodios. Actually, he just got a lot of bulk, actually. Type of Nido Queen, Delmise Mandibuzz, Megalodios and Heatran. Just most of his team just reads his bulk. And then he got great wall breaking. I don't know if I would say he has a really well-defined sweeper outside Dragon Dance Latios, Scarf Terrakion. He has good priority. Trachyon and Heatran, both great Z users. I say those are probably, yeah, those are the optimal choices given his team. Because I'd rather run Nidoqueen has good coverage, but that's again back to the whole like Sheer Force Life Orb is better than Z moves most of the time. His contracts come out to Heatran for 2 seasons, Tapu Fini for 2, Megalodios for 2, which is a great core to. That's the core of the future, man. That is Derp knows. Derp is very good at knowing. I think he's got a good future to build around. I personally am not fond of Finny. I wouldn't even draft it, but once again, gotta props the drafted of the Mon and the counter. Gotta get the threat go Lissapod. So really, Derp he does not have a flawless draft, but it's very hard to fault. I would give him an A- on his draft. He's just a little lucky in setup sweeping, and having Finny for the long term is great from a synergy standpoint, but bad from being stuck with Finny for a long time. So that is the long and short of Derp's team. Next we have Panda, 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 and the Pittsburgh Steelix. His Z choice is interesting. I think Victini is definitely a right Z move user. I don't think Lando I is though, and I said it with Feraligatr, and I commended Derp for not doing it with Nidoqueen. But Sheer Force Life Orb is something I would pretty much always prefer over having a Z move. And Lando I like two hit KOs like just about almost anything with the right coverage. So I don't even know like I don't know, man. And we allow Sheer Force Lando because that is his S ranked mod. So even though I don't agree with it as being a Z user, I think it's a good value for where he got it because that was his first round pick. He obviously got Mamoswine the threat. He has a tremendous wall breaking core here, along with Gengar. Unfortunately, I think Gengar is most likely going to be like forced into a role of running Scarf or trying to be a step sweeper. Or Lucario and Gengar are basically his what he's got as like his fast sweeping mons. He has great priority on his team. Like maybe he may have the best priority on anyone's team, just outright with Bisharp, Mamoswine, Lucario. That's too good. He does not have. He doesn't have walls with reliable recovery, which I think is that's a big downfall of his. He very closely resembles Hooch's season 1 team, which was a lot of wall breakers, but not necessarily a lot of good synergy, and not a lot besides that. So I'm not gonna make a immediately damning comparison, but I don't see how many things are like solidly switching into really powerful hits. Rotomosh is basically what he's really reliant on. And there are things like Whimsicott has good typing to resist a number of hits, or Araquanid's pretty bulky. Mamoswine and Victini have a level of natural bulk that they have, but you do want to run speed on those, and you do want to run offense on those, so the amount of bulk you're able to expend on those two mons is somewhat limited. And his speed tiers do cap out at Gengar, which means I don't think he has a good I don't think he has good potential for a hyper offense team. And analyzing his contracts, I think he did choose good mons to build around. He contracted 4, him on top for 3 seasons. Rotomosh, Victini, and Mamoswine for 2. Mamoswine Victini is out very tremendous, very good wall breaking combination. Rotomosh, I'm not going to fault. That's his only bulky mon, and I think it's good to draft some sort of bulk. And and with Victini Rotomosh, he has a Volt Turn core in the future. So I think that's overall a pretty good move. Him on top is not a bad rapid spinner, and by Sharp a good. He has webs, a good defog blocker, so he has a good number of hazard assets, but he does not have reliable rockers. He has Lucario, Bisharp, and Lando I. None of which want to be running. He has Mammoth Swine. So I guess he's going to be running Rock's Mammoth Swine a lot. Um, this is a draft I could fault a good deal. I'm sorry, Panda. You are getting the lowest rank. You're going to get a C plus. You are. This is not to say I don't believe in you. I've. This is not like a condemnation, but like this is the draft that like I could see like. I'm the least sure about. So yeah. And finally, we close out the draft with another friend from other leagues, Hanshan, who the week 1 match against him has already gone up by this point. His team, he got a thing I love, which is Sand. He got Hariyama, who he's used well before. He's got Gudra, which I also love. I think Gudra and Tarantar are his best available Zmons, and I think they're good ones. They're not great. Azelf was in a Zmon because he made a transaction. He had Alakazam initially. He drafted Azelf as because I mentioned to him he didn't have a ground resist after I faced him. I didn't want him to get dicked on like every week by ground types. So Azelf as a Levitator is a pretty good move. Can at least pivot into things even if it's not really. And Melodic and like Kofag are like good soft ground checks, but you need to not let them get worn down. So yeah, he has a very threatening Vulture and Core with Jolteon, Darmanitan, Mega B. He has his bulk isn't doesn't heal that much, but he has a lot of good bulky pivots, and I think that's fine for the team he has, considering he did build more offensively. He has a very fast team with Mega B, Jolteon, and Sandrush Excadrill, and his Elf. He doesn't have anything like right at 100 or right above 100. But Duranitan's pretty good, especially since you're running that Scarf a lot of the time. So the speed tiers aren't perfect, but they are very good, and he has a lot of bulky mons that he can speed creep if you want to. Sean drafted the Sand Core 2 seasons, drafted Gudra and Hariyama. So that's a good franchise identity, I would say. Gudra does pair pretty well with Sandmons, and Hariyama does as well. Just fighting types in general, bulky fighting types. Especially with his thick fat, it's very good. His underrated ability, and he does have the more offensive abilities at his disposal. So yeah, and I think not drafting his Mega Beedrill is a wise choice, because most of the time everyone gets enamored with Mega Beedrill for a little while, and like whether or not you're going to love it or hate it, like is something that's really difficult to know until you've like used it in a draft. It works for some people, it doesn't. I've seen a lot of people like, man, I got to get that Mega Beedrill. But like Spanik came to hate it, but Bennett came to love it. You know, the GBA George loved it, and but before that, it was like pretty much like the most like maligned Mega, because like I think Crimson had it and did really badly with it. So Mega Beedrill is inherently kind of a risk. Gen 7 helped it with like the first turn Mega. Overall on Sean. Azelf improved his team. His contracts are good. I'm gonna get. There's a lot of things that are less than optimal, but I'm going to give him a B plus on his draft. So that's my evaluation of all the NDLS teams draft. I hope I'm not too critical. I hope this just my opinion on things. My look over of all my coaches. I'm very excited to fight all of you. Very excited to see everyone in action, especially since I don't know a lot of you from previous leagues, but you all seem really cool. And I hope this league lasts a good long time, and that we really get to see this whole contract system really work itself out into something really neat. So without further ado, guys, stay woke.